I'll just do a short introduction and then I'll move over to Christian. So just in case we haven't met, I'm Andreas from Pixel Poems, and I'm in a group with other Silverstripers who deal with Silverstripe e-commerce / Silvershop to strengthen the e-commerce part of Silverstripe. And in this group, we have also Christian. And while we were discussing stuff about Silverstripe, we found out that Christian is using AI a lot, and he's using it in a way that I think most of us might be interested in. And then, yeah, someday Kalle from Career Marketing, you remember him. Hi, Kalle.
Hi.
On the talk in Hamburg at the last StripeCon, had an idea to, yeah, to organize this workshop so everybody can hopefully get an opinion on using AI these days and perhaps use it for themselves. And yeah, here we go. Before we start, please mute yourself. Otherwise, you have a question, then of course you can turn yourself on. You can also use the chat. We can collect questions there and perhaps answer them later or right in between. And if anything goes wrong, please write me on Slack. My nickname is ASP. And this workshop will be recorded, so we might publish this later on. So hopefully this is okay for everyone. If not, please, yeah, just give me a sign or turn off the camera. So yeah, I think that's most of the introduction stuff. I'll move on to Christian.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself a bit, and then the stage is yours.
Just one more thing about our organization. Just in case you have questions, I will have to close the Zoom window as soon as we start. So if you have questions, Andreas will see that and let me know, so I can give you an answer or help you with it. That would be great. Just about me, I've been working on websites since 1996, and I guess I started with Silverstripe at about 2010. We've been quitting our jobs at one of the agencies we've been working, and they had a closed source solution which was quite similar to what Silverstripe was at that time. It had some parts that were better, some were worse, but in fact we could take Silverstripe as a start for our first own company. And yeah, then we advanced, we did websites, we did apps, e-commerce some days later, which was already at version 2, which was more of a pain than it is today. Yeah, today I work at a publishing company which does corporate books, corporate magazines and stuff, and they also have websites they build for themselves. It's some kind of a news website where we have the articles from our region, and we also do agency works for other companies. So that's for where I come from. And yeah, I met, I think, Andreas from Austria then someday, and about from Andreas I came to, and no, not Andreas, I then met Andreas and our friends from Finland, which is Kalle, you see below, and his buddy Niklas and some other guys, and we wanted to move on in terms of e-commerce and create new solutions. This is where Kalle and his team did really a great job. And when we were talking about what we could do next, that was the day we started working with AI, in fact, with multiple AI solutions out there. And I think I was a little bit euphoric that day. And Kalle asked me, wouldn't it be nice to offer a little workshop or a little live coding session to the guys at StripeCon? Yeah, and this is how we ended up here. And I just want to use the time and have a little coding session with you, show you how we use it, where the limits are and what works good, what works less good. And yeah, if you want, we can start. I just prepared a little example. Maybe this goes very well. Maybe it's gonna be a big fail. I don't know. I just prepared the first big prompt, which is most of the time the biggest challenge when doing so. And from that, we will try to create a little software solution. But before we start, how did we come there? The first thing we did was a buddy of mine, a colleague who started working with GitHub Copilot. I think a lot of people do. Even at StripeCon, there were some lightning talks about it, and I think Copilot really does a good job when helping you do the smaller steps, even if you know how you can make the Copilot AI do the bigger steps. But it's hard to get GitHub Copilot to write whole classes, whole data objects, and even the logic for it. And this is where something happened, because our CEO just thought about what could we do to get the blog posts in our website, which is really, really big, and get keywords out of the text that are there. And then we said, okay, why don't we take all the elements from a blog post, extract the contents, send it to the AI, and let the AI do the keyword search, and then give us back the keywords where we can build the data objects from. And I just took this prompt, put it into the normal ChatGPT, even in 3.5, and it returned most of the code which we thought would work out of the box. And that was the moment where we thought, why shouldn't we try to use this in a project? And then we did exactly that. We tried it once, worked quite well. It was not perfect, but it worked. We tried it twice, and even a third time, and all the time we could cut the time we need for the project by half. So this was really an improvement for us. And today I'd like to try this live on stage, and hope it works. I don't know how far we can get, but I think we can get quite far. And even if we don't finish it, I think we can get that far that you can see how you can use it and how you can't. So I'll share my screen. Should be this one. And if it works, you will see a Silverstripe backend.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, then I hope this one, yeah, there it goes. Okay, I just prepared a little project. There's some stuff we always need already in there. There's some colors that were in the end used for that project. But in fact, it's a blank project. There's almost nothing in it. And what we are trying to do is create a little solution where people can book vaccination appointments at doctors. So yeah, what we need is, or what the result will be, is a page where you have vaccination days, which are days on which the doctors give vaccinations, and you have time slots where you can book yourself in and give all the data that is needed to finish the organizational part. And yeah, it even has some functions to enable the participants to cancel their dates. So if they get sick and they can't go to the vaccinations, to avoid no-shows at the doctor. And this is basically the idea behind that solution we want to do. And in fact, what I just told is part of what the briefing would be for the AI. I already prepared this a little bit, and this is what I wrote down. Hello, dear. I always try to be polite just in case the AI takes over the world.
Christian, maybe you can zoom in a bit. It's
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Better this way?
Much better.
Okay. So this is how I wrote the briefing. I think the way a project manager would brief a programmer is basically the way you can do the briefing for GPT. If it's just very basic, it can work, but it's better if you give some hints in terms of how to code things. What is a page? What is a data object? And how are they related? So before we start, I just read the prompt, and it is, I have a Silverstripe project. This is a sentence I write quite often in the last couple of months, which is important for the AI to know what code base is this made in. And even if you write the front end and you tell him, I need the form we will build on later in Bootstrap, it's quite important to let the AI know so he can build the HTML using the Bootstrap framework. So I have a Silverstripe project here that I need some help with programming. Specifically, it's about a website where people can book appointments for vaccinations. There should be fixed slots that are created beforehand for each vaccination day. These should be selectable in the front end. After selecting a slot, a user should fill out a form that is used to request and save all relevant information. The vaccination day should be created as a data object. It probably would work too if I wouldn't tell him to make it as a data object. But if you tell it directly from the start, you need less corrections to get the AI on the right track. So most of the time, if I think it's relevant, I just tell it from the start. So this is what I did here. This has a date, a time for the start, and a time for the end of the day. In between a lunch break, which is defined by a time and the duration. In addition, a field for the duration of the vaccination in minutes. This is the time it takes the doctor to get the needle in your arm before the next guy comes. So the slots should then be created automatically. If you don't tell him to use the on of the right observer, most of the time he or she still knows to that he has to use the function, but yeah, you can just tell it and you have less corrections. So a slot has one relation to the vaccination day. This makes it easy to get the relations. If you don't tell him that it is a has one, you can also tell him it is a 1 to n or some other words to describe the relation. Most of the time it works, but if you tell him it's a has one, it works quite well. So the data from the form should then be saved in a separate data object, which we call participant. If you don't give it the information, he will probably find a suitable name for it too. But sometimes, yeah, the naming from the AI isn't that good, so it's easier to give it in advance than to correct in the after. So here we need to fill the fields for the participant's name, address, as well as email, date of birth, and more stuff, which is needed for the job to get done. We also need the information about which vaccine was last administered and how many vaccinations this was. So this is basically the briefing where we start from. I think it's almost the briefing I would give one of my programmers, and then let them just go their way. And now let's have a look at how the AI will react to that. This is in fact also one thing you can't do with Copilot right now. Copilot is working on a chat solution, but I think it's not ready yet. So the only way to do this is to use GPT. We are working with 3.5 today. I just have another window open, which is running on 4.0, and we can just then have a look at how 4.0 is working different from 3.5. But first of all, let's have a look at what is the answer. And yeah, he has understood it's a Silverstripe project. And at first, it starts with the definition of the data objects, which is the destination day, which has the fields, which sound quite reasonable. We have the slot data object. We have this information, and in fact, it's basically what we told. Then we have an idea for the front end. First of all, we display the available slots. We fetch it, and we allow users to select a slot. We have a form submission, basically. And in the backend, we have the slot generation in the on after write. And we have an idea about the implementation steps, which at first is the creation of the classes, the backend logic, the front-end integration and testing. I'd say sounds quite reasonable, but yet we don't really have code. So how can we change it? And yeah, let's start the coding stuff. And we just take these implementation steps and say, okay, okay, we just wait for the answer. And I'd say, sounds quite reasonable, doesn't it? Just have a look, date is there. The type is quite okay for the moment. Start time is there, end time. I think this would be okay. So let's just take it. Hope you can see what I'm typing in.
Please zoom in again. It's quite small.
I hope I can. I'm not sure.
There's also a
Sounds
presentation
good.
mode.
Here we are, better this way.
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, perfect. So here we are. We have our folders already. And I think we had the vaccination day, so let's just copy that. And here we are. Okay. Now let's see if we get the build done. And we have a data object. Okay, wonderful. So let's proceed.
So Lucas is asking about the import slot, but I think this is the next step, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, it seems like, oh, that's not so good. But here we are, back in action. So we have the slot object. I will just go and create all the objects. The import thing, most of the time, GPT does it quite well, but not all of the time. So sometimes you have to create the imports for your own. But I think this is the part where the two AIs in combination work just fine, because most of the stuff the GPT does not is the part that Copilot does quite well. So the magic happens where you use both in combination. This is what we found. So let's get back and get the participant code. Yep. And there we are. Probably this is not complete. We will probably need a relation from the participant to the slot. But this is good. So we just found out that this is a problem. So we then let the AI know and make the correction. I'd say this is a good one. So we just take it and add it. Okay, so now we have a quite simple data model, which can grow when we continue working. But what would be probably be nice would be a model admin, so we can administer it. So and here we go. Yeah, and hopefully this works. So
There's some version 3 code with the path to icon. I think this doesn't work in 4 anymore, right?
yeah, this is quite a good point you mentioned, because what you have to know, as most of you guys probably know, GPT has a database which is from, I think, in the meanwhile, from 2021. So it is possible that this is not completely up to date, but as most of the stuff doesn't change too much, it's a good point to start from. So this is also the part where GPT won't do the job perfect, but where the Copilot will do the corrections that are necessary to get the job completely done. Okay, then let's do the build. And we have participants, we have slots. It's running through, so let's have a look. And we have a model admin. Looks like what we wanted it to be. So yeah, this is the first part of the job to do. And now comes the part where we mostly try to improve the user interface for our customers. I think that GPT isn't doing such a bad job, but this is the part where a Copilot is quite a lot better. And but if you use Copilot to finish the job, it's important to have in mind which changes you make are necessary for GPT to have all the information that is needed to do the rest of the job. So we always have to take in mind that GPT needs to have all the information for that. If you do some kind of fork in what you punch in your software, this can be a problem in the later process of developing your software. So this is also one thing you have to think of, when to use TPG and when not to use it, because it's limited. It works quite well if you have projects that have a certain fence around what you want to do, a certain limit, and if this part doesn't need the whole knowledge about the project to get the job done. So it's always important to have in mind what is needed to get the job done. And yeah, so it's always a problem if you make changes that GPT doesn't know of. So what we could do at the vaccination is to create some more stuff. You see, it tells us to create the summary fields, which is quite nice. And this is something that GPT doesn't really need to know to create the forms and the logic in the after. This is just for the user. So this is the part where we can use Copilot without breaking stuff. So why not use this and define the summary fields? We then probably will need some kind of get CMS fields. Yeah, here it is. I think the Copilot does this quite well, but maybe we just try out how good GPT is doing the job. Maybe this is interesting for the question we had before about the uses. So as you can see, most of them are done by GPT. Most of the time it fits. Sometimes it doesn't, and you have to do the rest on your own. But I think it's a job that you can get done. So this works quite well. Okay, let's have a look. Just take it as it is. Put it in. And let's have a look. I think GPT, does it do the uses? Ah, date field, sounds good. This is Copilot actually. Works as well this way around. So all fields are there. Field names, I think they're okay. And the descriptions, date of the vaccination day, that's right. Start time, that's right. End time, also time when we're okay. That's okay too. So that's it. And we have a nice little backend. Maybe we should have a tab for the slots. I don't know, just if it's important to know, and maybe another one for the participants who did the application for this vaccination day. So let's ask GPT and see what happens.
I have a question in between. So right
Okay.
now, while you're chatting with GPT, does he or she or whatever he is
It.
remembers the whole scope of the project you have, or is it every
Yeah.
time you type in it's a new like starting off again?
That's a very good question, which I can't finally answer perfectly, but I think I can give some good hints. If you use the API from GPT, in the descriptions of the models, there's plenty of. There is a retention period, and I think this one is true. So for GPT 3.5, I think it was 2 weeks. For version 4, it was 4 weeks. So if your job takes you longer than 4 weeks, this could get a problem. And he really forgets, or it really forgets what you said before. I also have the feeling I had a project which ran a little longer, and I really asked it, "Did you just forget what we did last week?" And yeah, it admitted that it forgot what we did last week. So there is a retention period. So before starting with the project, take that in mind. It's really important, and this is the reason why we use this for model admins, which we know are limited to some extent. So you can finish the job within the 4 weeks and get it done. So let me just finish that in showing the slots corresponding that day and another with all the participants attached to slots in that. Okay, let's see what happens. This sounds good. Now let's have a look. Okay, interesting way of doing this. I have no idea if this works, but let's try it. There we are. I think this wouldn't be the way I would do it, but we can just have a look if the code works, even if it's not perfect or if it's not lean or whatever. Takes the slots, yeah, goes through the participants, adds it, yeah, okay. This is one way we could do it. I don't think this is the way I would do it, but let's have a look. Okay, however, what's the problem? Okay. No. Seems like there is one. Yeah, this is probably wrong. So this won't work. And yeah, what should we do when something like this happens? This is the part where we have to make corrections. We probably could replace this with what it should be. But let's try if we can get the AI to solving the problem. I hope GPTs won't get too slow. I think when our friends from America are getting up, you most of the time feel it if you are in Europe. So just in case it gets too slow, I have a plus account ready, which gives us some more speed. So this could help. So I don't think this is right anyways, but just in case this stops us from advancing, I just skip that part and write the grid field on our own. I think we could probably do this because this is only used for the user interface and doesn't have an impact on how the form we will have to create will work and how the data model does work. So it wouldn't be that bad if we wouldn't have it. But anyways, it's not perfect. So this is probably the limits where we have to make corrections. And just for the moment, we will skip that part. Maybe we can try to get Copilot to get the job done. So participants is okay. This slots. Yeah, this sounds quite reasonable, doesn't it? And now we just use the. Okay, this should work. And we have a list of participants. None there yet. We have the slots. And the next thing we have to do, we have to create the slots. And yeah, if you have a vaccination day that starts at 8 a.m. and ends at, I don't know, 4 p.m., it would probably be a hard job if you would just use that button to add all of them. So let's try to write the function, the observer function that creates all the slots at the first time we save the vaccination day data object. So let's get back to GPT. I think this is here. And just let me get back to the initial plan GPT gave us, and let's just try to follow the instructions. So we have this one, we have this one, and here it is. Maybe we just try to tell him. And here we go. This is in fact one thing where we use AI quite a lot, because as you probably know, working with times and dates can be quite a pain. If you think of time zones, if you think of limits for the question when the day ends at 0 at night or 23:59 in the eve. So this can be quite a mess, and this is a part where GPT works quite fine and saves you a lot of pain. So let's take it and just punch it in. There we are, the update slot function. Let's read what it did. It checks for existing slots and is removing it before it creates new, which is probably a problem because of what? If there are already bookings and we just remove all the slot, I think this would be a problem. So I think we have to make some changes. So let's just let GPT know. And let's see what happens. Okay. And we just replace it. Yeah, probably this would work. So let's have a look. He takes the starting time, transforms it, takes the duration in minutes. Okay. Yeah, this could work. So let's give it a try. Just for sure, let's do a build. Don't know if we need one. I guess not. Okay, let's say this day is on Thursday. Start time is 9 o'clock, end time is 16. Lunch is at 13. Duration is, I don't know, 60 minutes. And for duration, we need 3 minutes. So let's create it. And we have an error, which is quite bad. Participants does not exist on slot. It's not used here. So as soon as we finish this part, we maybe can then go to the front end part and have a look if we manage to get the first parts of the front end done and some Ajax function. And I think this is the part where we can, get into discussion, because most of the stuff that comes after that is just a repetition. But it's a nice way to see how you can use it. So line 70 of assimilation day. Yeah, this is clear. Because this is the problem. So let's correct this one. On our own, I think this is a part where we can make changes without breaking the knowledge from GPT. So let's just do this. Oh, very well. Thank you, Copilot. Now we have the participants. Most of the time it's only one, but I just don't want to let you wait. So let's do it the dirty way. I push the participant. So this should probably work. Not very nice, but probably it will do the job. So now we have it. No slots yet, that's okay. So again, let's try to put in some data. 9, 16, 30, 63, and here we go. 73 again. Ah. And here we are. Let's have a look. We have some slots. Probably it could be a good thing to improve the summary fields, but in fact we are having slots. It's only 7 yet. Probably that's something that is not correct for the moment, but let's have a look. Probably it doesn't know that the duration is in minutes. Maybe it did it in hours. So this could be the problem, but let's do the okay. This should help. I think I'm in the wrong window. Okay. So we're having some slots. Let's take a look at the time. Yeah, I think he just put it into the wrong slot. So this is the part where we have to do some fine tuning and make him correct that. So let's give this a try. Okay, let's have a look. When I did this for the project itself, I have to admit this was one of the hardest parts, and it took me quite a huge amount of changes till this worked out. But I think if you have to do this on your own without the AI, it probably takes longer, as the timing stuff is a pain every time you have to do it. So let's give this another try. Hopefully this works. Let's do another one, and hopefully it works. So let's go here. I'm probably creating quite a huge amount of rubbish because I do not delete the slots when doing so, but this is also a part where GPT can do the job if you just let it know. So just for timing reasons, I won't do this now. Let's take again Thursday starting time. Give this another try. And here we go. No slots yet, probably. Oh, yes, there are. So unfortunately, this doesn't work out of the box. But as you can see, it's not perfect all of the time. You have to do some fine tuning, and just in case there's no way to get GPT to do the job, always think of, is it important if you do the changes on your own for the rest of the process? So I think at that point it's probably not so important, because if we continue with the front end and create the functions that we need to select slots to enter the data, the way how the slots are created is not so important for the rest of the process. So you could even advance without breaking stuff. So for the moment, I would do it. Normally, I would probably finish the job. So let's just go back and continue. What would probably make sense is some kind of function to make a setting for if the people outside can access that vaccination day or not. So you can add a checkbox for show in front end or don't. But we can do this later on. So even if you want to make changes later, GPT remembers what we did before, and you can then make the changes with ease most of the time. So it's not necessary to do this now. You can do it even in the after. So for the moment, this is okay. And let's create the front end. There we can think of, is it necessary to create a page type for it? Probably it is. So let's see if this works. And here we go. I think naming is okay. Let's take this as it is. I think it was booking. Yep. And then the controller. And here we have a blank controller. Okay, that's good because it probably won't work, but we can tell this. So let's have a look here. Could possibly work. Let's just take it. And here we are. Okay. So let's have a look why there's no vaccination days available. Probably because we do not have a function here. And this is what we asked for later. Here's the function. Let's take it. This is also nice here, thinking of only showing vaccination days in the future with, but I never told him. So this is quite nice, I think. Now let's have a look what happens. And we have some kind of user interface. And the next thing would be to make a selection and get it to the backend somehow. And this would probably be the last part I show for today because the rest of the stuff is only repetition. But I wonder if GPT is able to write a JavaScript that gets the data into the backends, gets the corresponding slot, and writes it maybe into the session. So let's give it a try. Well, sounds not too bad. Select slot is okay. Probably this won't work out of the box. Because there's no call for it. But let's just take it. But what's probably missing, we have to call that function. And probably this URL is not working right now. We can make some changes later, but before we have to make the call, which is probably missing. Okay, then we have the onChange function. Value is there. This could work better. Okay, this is probably wrong because we need the function, which it wrote somewhere here, yeah. And here we are. I'll do it the dirty way for the moment. And this could already be working. And we have a request, which doesn't work perfect yet. Ah, my bad. Now we have a good code. And just for testing, yeah, maybe we have to flush it. And there it is. So even when you need some JavaScript, which can be a pain sometimes, if you think of using jQuery, if you don't tell GPT not to use jQuery, it most time does. But even if you think of projects where you have jQuery in it and you just want to get rid of, GPT is quite a good way to do that job, because you can just take the jQuery code and ask GPT to transform it into plain JavaScript code, and it really works out quite well most of the time. So this can be really helpful. And even if you want to do some kind of animations, and if you know what you would do in HTML and in CSS, let's say if you want to have some kind of a curtain effect when images get into the viewport, you just have to describe where you want to get, how you would do it. Let's say you just check if the image comes into the viewport, and if so, take the image, wrap it with a div, put another one in it which is sized height 0, and then just run the height up to 100%. If you just take this as a briefing, GPT will probably do the job and get most of it done. So it's really helpful. And when you're finished and you get this vaccination stuff done, you can then start improving it. And this is the part where Copilot is really, really helpful. Think of our data model, the vaccination day, which is okay for the moment, but what most of our programmers miss doing all of the time, and which makes it really hard for our customers to use the stuff, are so simple things like the singular name, plural name. Most of the time it's just not done because it's the extra mile you have to go. And if you use Copilot, it's not the extra mile anymore. The longer you use it and the more often you punch in that stuff, I have the feeling that it learns how you do stuff and what you do. And it most of the time, if you use it for a while, it just knows what would probably be the next step. And it really helps you doing that. You can even get to a point where you discuss with GPT, because sometimes there's not only one way to get the things done. I had a thing where we had to access data objects and we used the hash code, but the hash code should have been as short as possible. Maybe 8 characters would have been perfect. So when we first tried to make this work, we used a CRC32 code, which was quite nice. And then I just took the same task and asked GPT, how would you do it? And what GPT did, it took an MD5 and cut it off after 8 characters, which is okay, but there could be a conflict. So I just asked it, couldn't it be possible to get a conflict if you just take the first 8 characters, if the difference is in the characters after that? And then it said, okay, yeah, this could be. And when I asked, what could we do to avoid this? And couldn't we just try to create a hash code and check if it's already existing, and if not, repeat up to 10 times. And yeah, this is one thing that could be a pain to code, and GPT just did it. He just wrote the code for that. So there's a lot of small tasks that always take up a lot of time, where GPT and Copilot can really help you to get the job done faster. We also have some projects where we have create PDFs. In the end of this software, we even used this function, and we asked it to create this. So what was this necessary for? When you get a vaccination in Germany, you have to fill out some forms, and filling out blank forms is a thing that really takes up a lot of time when a lot of people go to the doctor that day. So it would be nice to have a pre-filled PDF with all the data already in there. So you just have to put in the current date and put your signature below the sheet. So this is a thing where you can ask GPT, could you please create the code that creates a PDF, puts in all the stuff, and he will do it. And you can even argue with it and ask, which library could we use? Do we use DOM PDF? Do we use another one? And yeah, sometimes you need to try some of them. Sometimes it's even a problem that GPT isn't up to date completely. So some of the libraries who could probably do the job better, it just doesn't know them, though. It can be the case that you can't use them. If the code of those libraries isn't that complex, you can even take it, punch it in as a briefing, so GPT learns how the actual library works, so you can then use it, but it doesn't work for complex libraries. So there are some limitations for using it. So I think this was quite a small tour. We could finish this and go to the very end of the solution, but I think it was quite a good example of showing how we can use GPT and what you can get done with it. And it's quite impressive what you can do with it. Even if you think of build tasks, one build task we wrote with it was a task that went to elemental pages, got the content out of all elemental pages, put it into a single HTML variable, and then send this to the API from GPT and let it do some work. And the code was really good. He knew the structure of elemental. He knew which fields he should take out, and he really did the job. I think we did not even have to correct it. So for some tasks, it's quite a nice thing to use GPT for one part of the job, to use Copilot to do the rest of the job. And if our learning was, if we use them in common, it's a little bit like pair programming with a buddy. You always can ask why things are how they are, or how you could do it, or if there are other ways to do it, which is quite nice. And even the tasks that are, yeah, very, I don't know how you say it in English, where you just walk down the same path over and over. These are the tasks where GPT can just take off the pain from your shoulders. And this is what we learned and how we use it. So for tasks like these, which are limited, which are not small but limited, and where you don't have to know the whole code of your project to do the rest of the job, it's really, really great, and it makes coding a lot faster. I have to admit, sometimes you could do it for yourself, but hey, if you can ask the AI and you don't even have to type, the code is just faster. And this is even one thing. As you saw, I had to type quite a lot to make to create the prompts, and sometimes yeah, you just don't want to write the prompts. And this is the point where I want to give a little bit of an outlook. I just stopped the screen sharing at this point, where I want to give a little bit of an outlook, because as I learned, GPT will get some kind of voice recognition soon, if not already. So you can enter the prompts just by talking, which makes it even less pain to write code with GPT. And there's also other solutions which do the job quite well. I didn't work with it yet, but there is a solution called Cursor SO. It's, I think, working with Visual Studio. And if you use it and open a project with existing code base, as far as I know, the IDE will teach the AI with all of the code which is already there. And then you can continue from that point without doing the whole briefings and the whole prompting stuff, to let the AI know the prerequisites that are in the project, just to make the rest of the code work, and let it know all what that is necessary for the job. So this could also be quite interesting. I didn't use it yet, probably also because it's not for free. You can work with GPT 3.5 for free. Copilot is, I think, $10 a month. cursors, oh, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks a month. So the more of these solutions you use, the more expensive it gets. I really think they pay off. But I think one has to check out which of them really help and which don't, and which of them, yeah, are necessary, which are not. So this is one thing. Another thing is we just did that job using GPT 3.5, which is quite nice. But it's told that GPT-4 is a lot better in codes in terms of coding. I have an account. We could even check out what GPT-4 did with our prompt I had before. I tried it before. It was, yeah, different. Under the bottom line, it was, yeah, doing the same job. It was a little bit better. I think it could be better when you get more into deep. So yeah, this is how we use it for small jobs, for bigger jobs, and sometimes even if we don't want to go the whole way, we sometimes also use it for creating elemental blocks. You just have to describe which fields, which data you need. You can even tell him that he should do the front end using Bootstrap 5 or Bootstrap 5.3, whatever version you like, and then describe what should be done. So in our case, take the versionation date as a headline, put the slots as radio buttons under it, prepare it for mobile use. So if you have the UI mobile, you only have two slots beneath each other. If you have it on a tablet device, it's three. Even if you want to use some carousel solutions, no matter if it's the Slick Slider or any other, it really knows most of them, and it even writes the code for implementing the HTML and for implementing and initializing the carousels. This really works out quite well, and he knows most of the documentations and codes. So this really saves you a lot of time. I think sometimes it's important to make corrections, not to make it work, but to have, yeah, almost clean code. It's not perfect. I think the code quality is better if you do it on your own. But if you know this is a project which use is limited, it's absolutely okay to use it. And even if you only use it as a starting point and then improve what you have, it's a good way to save time and money. And what we learned as a company is it doubles the speed we write code in, which doesn't make our prices drop, but enables us to do the cool stuff that really makes the customer happy, which has always been a problem in terms of pricing. And this changed a lot. And another thing that, in my opinion, is changing when we compete with other agencies working on WordPress and Typo3 and all the other guys, the biggest advantage they had over all the years was that the existing modules and stuff is so much better, and there's more. Even for other solutions on the market, there's more implementations, more APIs and stuff. But this is, at this point, where AI takes the pain from coding APIs, from coding stuff. Silverstripe, in some extent, as a rapid prototyping tool, turns the disadvantage into an advantage, because you can do tailor-made solutions at the pricing of existing solutions which doesn't fit perfect to the customer needs. So this really changed a lot the way we talk to customers, what we can offer at what price. And I have to admit, I have much more fun with coding, because the dirty stuff or the boring stuff is so much faster, and you can focus on the more complicated stuff, which then makes the difference in the user experience. And yeah, we're really having a lot of fun with it. Sometimes even trying stupid things, trying crazy things. Yeah, so feel free to give it a try. Maybe you already have to, maybe there was a lot of stuff I told you today you already knew, I don't know. I just saw that there was a lightning talk at StripeCon, and maybe we went a little bit more into deep today. So I hope this helped a bit, give an impression about how you can use GPT and Copilot to write Silverstripe code and functions, projects, whatever, and even other things. I even tried to translate Silverstripe code into WordPress code. It's also a nice experiment. I'm not so much into working with WordPress. Whenever you hear someone of our team yelling from the next room, most of the time it's related to WordPress. But even this works. So if you have things running on other solutions or in other programming languages, even if it's, I don't know, Python or something, as AI is basically nothing else than a large language model, and a programming language is a language as well. This is where, yeah, AI really performs quite good, and it really helps us a lot. So at that point, thank you for listening. I hope it was not too boring. You were quite tough, 1.5 hours of listening, and I hope nobody fell asleep to that point. And yeah, this was our little tour. Hi guys. And yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks a lot, Christian. This was very cool. I've never heard that anybody want to code Silverstripe code to WordPress, but I think this is another topic. Thanks a lot. Very impressive stuff. I think there are some questions from guys, especially Lucas did one or two. Lucas, maybe you can, about Visual Studio Code, ask the question if you're still there. I don't know.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Lucas.
Still here, yes. No, actually, it was not. Yeah, but Andy answered it already. It is not available in PHP Storm, so it is available in Visual Studio Code, and I use it quite a bit. It's quite nice to have the chat inside the editor or IDE, however you call it. And yeah, quite enjoy it.
Is it really like that it learns your code base and can work based on that?
Not sure, but it has context. It really
Okay.
has context a lot. So I'm not using it very long, but find it quite nice.
Okay.
Found it quite nice.
Perfect. So thank you for the info.
But I also asked this in the chat. You never used the API of OpenAI to do stuff like content generation.
We did. We even wrote a module for doing the redirects. We took the URLs from an old page, maybe in Typo 3 or WordPress. We did a little a crawl on the old website, then just took the URLs one per line as an input, and then we took the whole site tree of the new Silverstripe website. We took the IDs, the URL segment, and all the content on the page, used this as an input for GPT, and asked it, could you please map the IDs from the Silverstripe website to the URLs of the old website, and please return it as an array. Work quite fine. It's not perfect. The guessing is quite good. It's not perfect. I would say 80 to 90% is good. And then it created just all the redirects in the redirect module, which was quite fine. We ended up doing some kind of combination. We just took only the URLs and did the phonetic comparison, which does some part of the job, and we took the rest of it couldn't handle and asked the AI. So AI is always good if all the rest fails. So this is also an example of how we use it. And I think the 800 redirects in 2 languages cost half an euro cent at the OpenAI API, which is nothing. When we did this before manually, it took us hours and hours, and now it's only 2 or 3 seconds, and it's almost for free. And you can even ask GPT to write the code, the build task that does that job, and it works.
Yeah, but I think it's an important message that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
It always makes funny mistakes. You remember that on the StripeCon website was a counter until the first day of StripeCon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before the StripeCon, I realized that it was wrong. It was 1 day off, and it was generated code.
Just to be fair, when we do this on our own, we do the same mistake very often.
Yes.
So I think it's 50-50 to get it right. So yeah, but it really saves us a lot of time. We also had a project where we offer download files for a limited time. So just when you open an URL for the first time, the counter goes down, which can be really, really a pain just in terms of the problem you mentioned. And this time we were lucky, GPT did it right. So it saved us a lot of time in testing and trying and testing over and over. So yeah, can be helpful. Sometimes it doesn't, you really have to check, but if you're able to program it really saves you time. If you are not able to do coding, you can't save the world with GPT. It just helps you to get faster, get things done faster, and maybe implement more features, do some better descriptions in your fields at your backend stuff. Which creates a better customer experience because they don't call you all the time asking for what is this field doing, what is that field doing, and how can we get the job done. This really improved the customer experience and saved us a lot of time at the phone explaining things we already knew. So thank you for that. James just give me some hints. Unfortunately, I didn't get it when I was at the IDE, but you're right. This was also the problem I had when I did this the first time. And actually, we really finished that job. In fact, I didn't take money for it. It was a woman aged 70 who did all the vaccinations for the people, and the communication was via email. She was answering emails from morning till midnight, from Monday till Sunday. And this was the point when she mentioned it on Twitter, where I said, okay, let's see if we can help you and ask the AI if we can get this done fast. And in fact, it took me 2 days until we had a working prototype. And today she reduced her effort to make this vaccination appointments from, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day to 0. And they even have some functions for the vaccination day where they get all the people in line, can check if they were there. So the statistics are created automatically, and you don't know what you have to send to the government if you do COVID vaccinations. This is really a mess. And the paper stuff is so bad for the people doing this. And GPT and Silverstripe really saved a lot of time for this woman who does this for free for all the people looking for vaccination. So we're really glad about that. And I hope I could give you some impressions about how we use this. And if you have more questions, feel free.
So normally there would be a big round of applause, but I think
I'm okay with it.
Well, there are those little icons there below, reaction, this one. Yeah. Yeah, any other questions from you guys?
Or maybe some info. Did you use AI before? Did you use Copilot, GPT, or other solutions in your daily business? Plus, you're shaking with your head. How do you use it?
Yeah, Copilot, GPT Plus, and we're just starting to. Well, as I mentioned in the chat, we're looking at creating a module to do automatic translation.
Yeah.
Because what we see, especially the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, that really, I mean, it's nearly perfect, right? You can with GPT Plus, you can now spin up your own slightly trained GPT. So you can feed it like a prompt of about 2,000 words. So if you feed it like information about your company, your tone of voice, and what you do, and you feed it your website, then and your FAQ, then it can basically do customer service really well, and it can also do translations to different languages within the boundaries of your company, and keeping in line with the right the right tone of voice, really. And we're also using a lot nowadays for images, for manipulation. So removal of background images, taking 3D models and creating standard product photography based on a model. But a lot of it we use by hand, so we're trying to switch over to using the API. And if people are interested in working together on creating a simple translator module, then I'd be happy to hear it.
Yeah, here's a question from Lucas. He's asking if you're using a tuned model for that. This is also what we tried when doing the redirects, because if you want to put all the information about the existing URLs and the pages and contents, it exceeds the limits of a single prompt. So did you use multiple prompts to teach the model, or how you did it?
No, what we do now is just we have a couple of people, they maintain a tone of voice. And you can upload documents, and the prompt itself, you can use anywhere up to 1,500 words, I think. But you can feed it pretty large data files nowadays if you have the Plus account.
Yeah.
And well, that works for us.
Yeah, Lucas is told it's now limited to 128K,
right.
which is great. Because what we learned when we try to tune the model with multiple prompts, yeah, a lot of stupid things are happening, and you cannot even make it forget what you told it before. So then it really gets complicated. So it really works quite well if you just put all into one single prompt, much better than if you have multiple prompts. This was really a mess when we tried it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I can say a bit about what we use it for. We use Copilot quite a lot nowadays, and one thing we have found it's quite good at is also like the Silverstripe translation files, and it knows like the context from which files you have open. So if you open like an English translation YAML file and another language file, and you have the same keys in both, then it's really good at filling in like the same key in a different language, and it knows which language it's supposed to fill in. So as long as you have all the language files open at the same time, it's really good at just filling in the correct translation based on the same key in a different language file.
Yeah, that's great. We also use it for that, because even if you want to use it for translation and you don't use Copilot, you can also just take the whole YML content, punch it into GPT, and it does the translations, maintaining the structure, which works quite fine. I have to admit, even if it comes to German, DeepL does a much better job in translation than GPT. But we have to admit, German is one hell of a language. So probably it's better when you're working with German, because it was made by German guys. So I guess for most of the other languages, GPT does quite a good job. And in the end, Copilot does nothing different than use GPT to get the job done. So it's basically the same. But at least for the moment, there's no possibility to do the chatting stuff and write briefings, get the code. They're working on it. Yesterday I signed up for the beta, but yeah, it's not there yet.
And as an answer to Lars, we should perhaps work together on some kind of module for those translations, because we have been experimenting with it, but it's right now it's completely in-house. But we're experimenting with having like a text assistant like button, which you can have on any like form field in Silverstripe admin, which is then like configurable, so it can do translations, or we quite often have like one HTML editor field for a big content, and then perhaps a different text field for a summary of that content, and it's really good at summarizing content. So we made that text assistant button so that it can like summarize the content from a different field.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicholas, for that. This is also one thing I want to mention. I'm really happy I met Andreas, Nicholas, Kalle, and all of the other guys, because we are working together a lot. We are sharing things. I think this is what really makes out the Silverstripe community. And since we are working actively together, this gets even better. Just in case it's interesting, we are working on a GPT implementation, which creates descriptions, meta descriptions from the content that is on that page. It's not perfect. Let's say it does 80% of the job quite well. So let's say it's better than having no descriptions, but if you write them on your own, they're still better. And at the moment we are improving it, so you can set keywords that you want to improve the description and the content with, and then it just changes the text on that page using that keyword, so you get better score at Google and stuff. So we are also quite open with that. We will really like to share that stuff. So if someone's interested, we're really looking forward to sharing that code if you need it. Perfect. So any more questions at that point? I think, Hamaka, you're muted right now. I don't know if you want to ask a question. Yeah, but feel free to type it. Okay. Well, maybe you find something if you punch in my old company, which is InnoMedia. There should probably be some things if you punch in that name. Yeah. So if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you very much for listening, for your time and patience, and for being part of the Silverstripe family. I'm really too happy that we made this decision in 2010. Yeah, so thank you very much, and I wish you the best for this wonderful Tuesday.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. Well done.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
See
you.
you later.
So
See you guys.
see you guys.